So how do we do it in the back end with InPlan? We do 3D model generation and scatter cleanup by taking the full view of the CBCT scan of the patient, crop it, and generate teeth models and bone 3D models. Most importantly, the free data modeling in bioengineering is done in a very unique and algorithm proprietary to Impronto's system. Once the full view is cropped, and once we determine that the area is a maxilla or a mandible that gets cropped, the scatter is generated, and then it's superimposed and cleaned up so we can generate 3D views that are fully diagnostic for the doctor. Then the doctor can clearly view the sinus areas and the teeth areas relevant to the bony crests and teeth in the process. Any defects are clearly identified and viewed so the doctor can assess the need for bone grafting. Sinus grafting could be necessary at times, and as a result, the sinus lobes are clearly identified. The most important process is the familiar workflow with the PVS impressions. The PVS impressions are digitized in order to create a positive model from the actual negative impressions that are scanned. Highly rated algorithms have been produced in order to generate these positives from the impression scans so that these models can get fused to the articulators, and then an upper and lower articulated sample model could be shipped to you with the case in order to practice the surgical procedure beforehand. Same process is applied to the maxillary impression. Negatives are scanned to produce digitized negative images that will then produce the positive models. Once these positive models are produced, they're also attached to the articulators. The whole upper and lower impressions will be articulated, and then they will be snapped to the Impronto articulator. These Impronto articulators with the models can be printed using any rapid prototyping printer today. The power of these models is to allow the surgeon or the restorative dentist to visually view the areas that they're working on, and if need, practice the surgery before the patient is actually seen in the operatory. These articulators could be mounted on one of these Dexter kits as well, so you can actually practice a real surgical approach to accessing the surgical area. Multi-slicer viewing for optimized diagnostics and nerve tracing is also important. The implant software provides these multi-slicer views so that the nerve tracing is done in an optimal way. The scatter is eliminated using the Impronto algorithms. The patient's CT scan and the impression scans are merged, and with a highly rated algorithm again, the scatter is eliminated so that a bone mesh of the 3D model of the patient's jaw and teeth can be generated for optimal viewing and diagnosis. Teeth, tissue, and bone should always be segmented in order to verify the bone density, the bone length, the amount of tissue deficiencies that are present, and the root forms that could be highly useful. The roots are segmented in order to simulate the emergence profile in the osteotomy that is produced, so that you can place the implant and produce the perfect emergence profile, maintaining the adjacent papilla for optimal aesthetics. Therefore, the root scanning is optimized for reverse engineering in order to produce realistic healing abutments that will sculpt the tissue to produce that optimal emergence profile. This is done in the implant reverse engineering section by optimizing the scan of these roots. Once the tooth is reverse engineered, the CEJ area is marked with the green lines. The depth of the implant is marked with the blue lines in the scans, and then duplicating nature becomes a reality, not a myth. A 3D model and a 3D volume model is generated of the root emergence area that will be subgingival, that can be used to optimally sculpt the tissue to produce that optimal result. The implant will give you a tracing of the tissue and the teeth and the roots, and now you have a 3D volume view of the healing abutment that will be used to sculpt the tissue after implant replacement in order to duplicate nature. Once again, the CEJ is marked with the blue lines, and then a 3D view is generated of the root emergence profile that will be used to fabricate the actual healing abutment. These 3D volumes of the root emergence profiles can be snapped to the tie bases, or they could be milled out of zirconia, because tissue response to zirconia is optimum and facilitates the healing process of the tissue while osseointegration is getting done. These views are very powerful in the implant software to allow you to understand the depth of the implant and the position of the CEJ of the final tooth relevant to the adjacent teeth that are present. Now, mirroring the existing teeth becomes very simple in the process. Rather than using a library that may or may not, I should say, apply to this patient's situation, we take number 8 tooth and we simply mirror imaging and place it into tooth number 9 position where we're planning to place the implant, and we also position the root as well. So we can evaluate the angle at which that implant is going to be placed and the angle at which the healing abutment is going to be produced to sculpt that tissue in order to maintain the mesial and distal papilla. Generating soft tissue models become optimal for optimal diagnosis, and these soft tissue models can also be printed because they are generated in STL formats. Once again, complete tracing of the simulated reverse engineered teeth and tissue, roots, and opposing occlusion become a reality. And this is all based on the segmentation of the adjacent teeth, number 8 and number 10 in this case, with the reverse engineering of tooth number 9 that will be able to allow us to look at the load vector for optimum implant placement. The load vector will enable us to snap the implant into the bony region that will be optimum, relevant to the thickness, width of the bone, and height of the tissue that is available. If necessary, the tooth can be manipulated in order to optimize its position relevant to the vital structures, such as the nasopalatine nerve in this case. This view, the mesial distal view, will allow you to evaluate the relevance of the position of the implant to the adjacent roots. This view allows you to view the depth of the implant relevant to the subnasal plate. This view allows you to actually evaluate the position of the reverse engineered tooth relevant to the depth of the implant that will be placed in the bone and relevant to the tissue available for aesthetic considerations. Once again, this implant is not only being viewed relevant to a volume view, but relevant to a bone view and a reverse engineered tooth and the CEJ positions and crestal positions of the adjacent teeth. Snapping the implant to the load vector becomes a non-issue. As you can see, the orange implant is snapped directly into the bony region based on the load vector analysis that was done with the reverse engineered tooth that was placed. Here, the dentist should be able to analyze whether a screw retained or a cement retained restoration can be useful. If cement retained is desired, then the tooth and the load vector and the implant position could be modified in order to achieve the actual result that the actual dentist is looking for. So, cement retained versus screw retained becomes very easily achievable with a simple manipulation of the rotation of the implant buccolingually to produce that optimum screw retained versus cement retained situation that is desired. Simulation of the centric motion of the lower teeth and loading the actual tooth becomes possible. Tracing of the tissue relevant to the bony crest becomes possible, so that evaluation of the actual healing abutment that has been also bioengineered becomes simple. Once again, the mesial and distal papilla considerations become very easily to evaluate with a simple view. Now, snapping on the volume view of the root form that was already reverse engineered will enable us to view the position of the implant, the position of the healing abutment, and the final position of the tooth that will be desired. Here again, these views can only facilitate the delivery of the message that you are trying to do to your patient, engaging your patient in their treatment plan, showing them the safety and the predictability of the procedure, and ensuring them a safe outcome. A spinner slice is provided to the dentist so he can show it to his patient to ensure the safety of not nicking the adjacent roots or the nasopalatine nerves or any vital structures in the region. This should conclude the iPlan safety features available to you.